So most of you know how to make a basic lotion. But what about those specialty products like milk, yogurts and creams? You can actually make these 3 completely different products just by changing one ingredient.
Just a quick disclaimer, there's no actual milk used in cosmetic body milks, yogurts and creams. Yeah, they're just regular lotions that look like dairy products. So sorry in advance if anyone's a little disappointed. Now that we're all on the same page, to make an ultra lightweight body milk, start by mixing 4 grams of glycerin with 165 grams of distilled water. You could also use regular honey instead of glycerin, but I'd stick to glycerin if you want the finished lotion to really look like milk. To get that super thin, pourable, milky texture, the next ingredient is crucial. Glycerol stearate and PEG 100 stearate is an emulsifying wax that here comes in the form of white flakes. It's able to mix the water and oil ingredients together without thickening them. This is key to making milk lotions. It won't work if you use e-wax, BTMS, or any other regular emulsifying wax. Now we don't want the body milk to be too thin because that would be irritating to use. So I'm also using cetearyl alcohol as a thickener. This way we can control the exact amount of thickness to get the perfect body milk texture. This wouldn't be much of a moisturiser if I didn't include an oil, so I'm also using fractionated coconut oil. You can use any oil you like, but a colourless oil is best if you want to get that milky appearance. In another heat-proof container, combine the glycerol stearate and PEG 100 stearate with 1 gram of cetearyl alcohol and 20 grams of fractionated coconut oil. Remember that you can use the free formula calculator that I create for all of my recipes at WholeElise.com to get all the measurements in one place and make the perfect amount. Now that the water-soluble ingredients and the oil-soluble ingredients are in separate containers, we can move on to making our body milk lotion. Over low heat, melt both your phases until the oil ingredients are completely liquid and the water phase is heated through. I'm doing it this way so that you can see better, but I always advise that you use a bain-marie or double boiler. Once everything is liquid, pour the oil into the water solution and immediately start mixing with an immersion blender. This step is really important because unlike with a normal lotion, you can't rely on its thickness to show whether it's sufficiently emulsified. Keep alternating between cooling and blending until you reach a velvety smooth and homogeneous liquid. Milk lotions won't thicken much even when they're cooled, so pay attention to ensure that it's fully emulsified before allowing to cool completely. At this stage, we can move on to preserving. As with any product that contains water, you'll need to use a broad spectrum preservative. I'm using Optifen. Whisk thoroughly to ensure that it's fully incorporated. I'm also using vitamin E oil as an antioxidant, and if you'd like a scented body milk, feel free to add in some essential oils or fragrance oils at this stage. There might be a little aeration that will settle in the next 24 hours, but at this point your milk lotion should be glossy, velvety, and well, like milk. Grab your nearest milk bottle and fill to the brim. Seriously, you might want to label this or someone's going to be in for an unpleasant surprise with their morning coffee.
I'll admit I was making fun of the whole dairy themed moisturiser, but this body milk is actually a really unique product. Because it's so light and viscous, it's actually really easy to spread around your skin, so it's super fast to moisturize with. I'd say that body milks were perfect for when the weather is hot and humid and you almost don't want to wear a moisturizer, but you know better than that, so instead you want to opt for something light, fast absorbing, and something that gives you that dry skin feel. I would say that its strengths lie in how light it is, so it's a great moisturizer to take with you when you're out and about and you don't want to faff around with something heavy like a butter or cream.
Body yogurts are like thicker, more lightweight lotions, but they have a really unique jelly-like consistency that's fast absorbing but keeps your skin moisturized and hydrated. To make your very own yogurt moisturizer, start by combining 1 gram of xanthan gum with glycerin. Then pour your xanthan paste into 161 grams of distilled water. This is a natural body yogurt recipe, so xanthan gum is super important to get that wobbly jelly consistency that yogurt moisturizers are known for. After a couple minutes, your water should have thickened slightly, and we can move on to the oil phase. Like with the previous body milk recipe, the emulsifier you use is key to getting the right texture. I'm using Vegetal, which is a naturally derived emulsifying wax. This gives a glossy, spreadable finish that's perfect for body yogurts. But what about if you don't have some of these ingredients, you've never heard of them, or you have no idea where to even buy them? Don't worry, you can find all the information you need at WholeElise.com, including a breakdown on what each of these ingredients does, full written recipes and detailed instructions, and even some possible alternatives. In a heat-proof container, measure out 10 grams of vegetal emulsifying wax, along with 20 grams of fractionated coconut oil. Again, you can substitute this with a different oil. And to give our yogurt an extra moisturizing boost, I'm using a little jojoba oil. Once all of the ingredients are measured out, like before, melt them over a low, gentle heat until no solids remain. Make sure to mix each phase a few times to help the heat distribute evenly. Once completely liquid, pour the molten oil into your water base and follow up with the immersion blender. Can you see just how different this yogurt formula behaves when you compare it to the previous body milk recipe? In less than 30 seconds, it forms a thicker, more creamy emulsion that has a slightly elastic texture. I just find it so exciting that you can make these types of complex lotions at home, but still using the same basic principles that I've shown you in my other tutorials. Once the yogurt has cooled to around room temperature, add in a broad spectrum preservative. Again, here I'm using Optifen, followed by vitamin E oil, and again any essential oils that you'd like. It's really important to take the time to mix in your preservatives, especially because of the unique texture of yogurt moisturisers. I'd recommend using a hand whisk to ensure that they're fully incorporated. After a couple of hours, the body yogurt has reached its final consistency. Now, I'm not sure if this is coming across on camera, but it has a completely different feel to a typical lotion. It's ultra glossy and clings to the surface of the spatula. And it has this springy bounce that makes it feel amazingly light on the skin. If you've never used a yogurt moisturiser before, it has the decadence of a body butter but without any heaviness. It also absorbs much faster into your skin.
Okay, you really need to try making this yogurt formula. It's just a fun and different type of moisturiser. It has an almost jelly-like consistency that makes it more moisturising than the body milk, but still lighter than a traditional cream. And of course, because of the emulsifier that we used, it has this super spreadable and glossy finish that really does resemble a yogurt.
And last but certainly not least, we have a foolproof, ultra easy cream recipe that's great for whipping up in a hurry. Begin by mixing together 4 grams of glycerin with distilled water. As with all of my recipes, if you can't find distilled water, you can always replace this with freshly boiled water that has cooled to room temperature. We're mixing things up a little by also using a butter. Here I have 10 grams of mango butter that will really help to add creaminess and create a richer moisturiser.
The obvious benefit of making a cream as opposed to a milk or yogurt is that we can make the formula more moisturizing with around 20% oil. And that oil increase is something that you can actually feel on your skin. It's richer, it will last longer, but you will lose some of that lightness that you get with the body milk or yogurt. So let's see the difference when we use a more conventional emulsifying wax.
As we're going back to basics with this cream recipe, there's no fancy emulsifying waxes. Here I'm using regular emulsifying wax NF, but this can be substituted with a variety of other e-waxes. Click the link in the description box below for alternatives. To the mango butter we measured out earlier, add 10 grams of emulsifying wax NF, followed by 4 grams of cetyl alcohol, and 30 grams of fractionated coconut oil, to keep it consistent with the other lotions. Melt both phases over low heat, stirring occasionally to help it melt evenly. Once liquid, pour the oil ingredients into the water phase and follow this up immediately by blending with an immersion blender. The emulsification came together relatively quickly, but unlike with a yogurt moisturiser, it will take longer for the cream to reach its final thickness. At the moment it still looks very viscous and velvety, but as it cools it will become thick and creamy like its namesake. At this point we can add in the cool down ingredients. Again, I'm using Optifen for a preservative, vitamin E oil for an antioxidant, and a few drops of essential oil for fragrance. Because we're adding in liquid ingredients to a relatively thick cream, we need to thoroughly whisk to make sure that the preservatives are fully incorporated. Otherwise the cream will start to split over the next few days. If mixed correctly, this cream will have a thick, semi-solid consistency. It forms soft folds and has a smooth, even texture that reflects light. This cream should also be thick enough to pipe into your container of choice, spread easily across the skin, and absorb quickly when massaged in. For instructions on how to use, along with more information, visit WholeElise.com or click the links in the description box below.